Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. And before we took that break, I did tell you that today we'll be taking a look at a very interesting topic. And today we'll be looking at the power of storytelling on and off the screen. I remember Joe and I talked about storytelling earlier on when we talked about tourism, art and culture. And we did say that we tell our stories ourselves. Again, that is the best way to get the messages across. No one knows you better than you do know yourself. Absolutely. And so it's important that we begin to tell stories the way we want to be seen, the way we want to be understood. And what better way do we need to tell this, except, of course, when we talk to people who are in the industry. And so today, I have a guest in the program today. In fact, she's a she's a multifaceted personality. She's an actor, she's a lawyer, she's an educator, she's an elocutionist, in fact, and she loves the words. And of course, it's my pleasure this morning to have Fadekemi Olumide in the studio. Thank you for being here, Fadekemi.
It's such a pleasure to finally meet you.
To finally meet me.
Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah. And it's such an honor to be here.
Thank you for being open too. I mean, you could have referred me to your management, but you said, you know what, let's do this together.
Let's talk about
it.
Especially when you mentioned the topic, storytelling, right. The power of storytelling. I think it's such an important conversation.
Right. So all right, welcome to the show. Let's start this way, and I like the fact that you latched onto, storytelling. When we say storytelling, again, it's broad, and it means different things to different people. But
Absolutely.
For you, what is storytelling for you?
Storytelling for me is how we give meaning to life. It's how we turn information into value. Data will always inform us, but stories will inspire us. So everyone is telling a story. Right. Everyone.
So irrespective of whatever you do not necessarily have to be an actor to tell a story.
Absolutely not. I just joined acting a couple of years ago. And I lived a full life before, I became a professional actor at 50 plus. And that full life was full of stories. Right. I had children, I went to school, I rose up the ranks in organizations to head them. All our experiences are stories, and how we frame them is the art of storytelling. Right. So you can go through something very challenging, a death in the family, a divorce in a marriage, but how you frame it, how you frame the narrative determines the power of that story. So if I choose to focus on the negative aspects of that event or circumstance, then I have framed the story in a way that will cause people to go into depression, will cause people to be sober. But if I choose to focus on what I've learned from those experiences and how those experiences have strengthened me as an individual, then I choose to give positive power to my story. So every experience in life is a story.
Is a story.
Absolutely.
Right. So let's now talk about storytelling in acting. That is why we're here.
Yes.
And then you just delved into the fact that you started acting at over 50.
Yes.
Meaning again that you can actually find your dream and pursue it at any time.
Absolutely.
It is not necessarily at a younger age. Also, there are no inhibitions here.
Absolutely.
So take us through that story. So how did you come into acting? Have you always looked forward to acting? Have you always dreamt of interpreting roles, or was it an accident?
It's a mixture of both, but I always believe nothing happens by accident. I always believe that everything happens by God's divine design. And my life is a testament to that. I've always loved stories. I've always loved drama since I was a child. I always got lead roles in school dramas and shows, etc. But as time went on, I come from a very academic family. Both my parents, professors, both my dad of blessed memory and my mom still with us, professors of medicine. The household was one that encouraged the enjoyment of arts and culture, but not necessarily as a chosen line of profession. because it was a very academic household. So it was unthinkable for me at that point in time to go to Papa and say, Daddy, you see, I want to become an actor. It was just unthinkable. You know, when we had those types of discussions, it was, so what are you doing? Is it medicine? Is it law? Is it... And I chose law.
Okay.
And, you know, I was hearing a lot of narrative about how, oh, you would make an excellent lawyer, you speak so well, you're very confident, etc., etc. So I went into law. And no knowledge is wasted, because now that I'm in acting, I use my knowledge from law. Right. There's entertainment law, there's so much law in the field of acting.
Right.
So I enjoyed it, but as the years went by, I realized I probably am not going to spend the rest of my life doing this. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And I'm very close to my mom, so she was the first person I had that conversation with. And, you know, we sort of brainstormed together, and I said, I wanted to go into education. I had started having children. I was so fascinated by how children learn. I see myself as a lifelong learner. I say that a lot. I'm very open to new knowledge, new experiences, new insight. I'm always very observant about my environment and life experience. So I went into education, became a teacher, studied abroad, came back and started teaching in classrooms. And over time, rose through ranks to start leading schools. Eventually, I owned my own school. At a point, I became principal of a secondary school, a leading secondary school here in Lagos. But the interesting thing about that experience is that it was so clear to many people as the years were going by that I was totally in love with arts and culture. So anywhere I went, any school I was leading, the drama department, the arts, they would get more favor
from you.
And I had to make a mental check that no, there's also STEM, there's the science department that, you know, try and be equanimous. But I was always, you know, my eyes, my heart was always with arts and culture. And eventually, a production company called Proud African Roots came to visit my school. And we had this idea. I said, I want to do a summer school. And I want us to make a home video, a Nollywood-style home video, using all the children as the actors, the crew. And, you know, the head of that organization, Bola Edwards, God bless her, she ran with it and she produced, together with me, this beautiful children's movie. We still have, you know, parents, I hope, still have copies. And they were delighted. You know, it brought out the creative flair in the children, even the technical flair in some of them who were interested in sound and lighting, etc. And at the end of that summer school project, I remember Bola called me and said, Ma, you clearly have a flair for this. Are you sure you don't want to go into it? Moni, Bola. I said, Bola, it's too late. I said that. Right. I said, Bola, it's too late. I was probably about 46 or so. I said, Bola, it's too late now. You know, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying what we're doing. I don't think there's enough time for me to pivot in that way. And she said, so she was my first encourager. She was the first person God sent to me. God will send you signs. That's my belief and understanding, and that has been my experience. God will always speak to you one way or the other. So she was the first person to encourage me and say, no, Auntie, you can do it. So she then came back soon after and said, Auntie, there's a show coming up in Terra Culture. You know Terra Culture on the island. Would you mind going to audition? I said, Bola. I said, okay. So I went. Fresh from the road, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any of I didn't know the director. Stood in front of the director. He gave me a few instructions and I gave him, you know, what I had to give him. And he looked at me and he said, where have you been?
Oh, wow. Like
where have you
we've been
been?
looking
I
for
still
you.
remember. His name is Israel Ebo. He's a very respected director.
Right, a stage director.
Yes, stage director and film director. At a point, the head of the NANTAP organization, the National Association of Theatre Arts Practitioners. Yes. And he looked at me and said, "Where have you been?" And I said, "You know, I've been living a full life." And he said, "You need to come and join acting as well."
Okay.
And I told him the same thing I told Bola. I said, isn't it too late? You know? And he said, no. And the first name he mentioned, he said, Taiwo Ajayi. I said, do you know her? I said, oh yes, I love her. I've been watching her since I was a kid. And he said she didn't start particularly early. And he started mentioning a few people all over the world, in the industry, who didn't start particularly early.
Right.
So I went back and I did some soul searching. And I sort of left it for a couple of years. But when I turned 50, are you in your 50s?
No.
Not yet. There's something that happens to a woman
There's a learning curve.
Yes, while some people are... You will see what I'm saying. There's something that happens when a woman has lived a full life and realizes what people think does not matter
anymore.
It really doesn't matter. As long as you're living positive values and you are well aligned with your close-knit family that love you. So what their opinion matters. Right. But the opinion of the world is inconsequential in that circumstance. So I had a think and I decided, what do I have to lose? And I told God in prayer, if I'm going to jump, I said, God, I'm going to jump. Okay. Because I know I have this thing in me. You've sent me messages. Right.
And so I'll have to latch onto this.
Okay.
All right. So let me quickly hold your thought on that. We seem to have a little bit of audio challenge. We'll take a quick break to fix this and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Thank you for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Of course, before we went to that break, we were still listening to the fascinating story of how you got your fate in the acting world. Yes. And I mean, from when you started, when you got the message, you got, even though your foot dragged for a little while, you still had to, at some point, come into it because it felt you were actually missing something and you also needed to find your space in the industry. When you finally came through and you got your first role, was it the kind of role you envisaged, or was it just a role that you felt, okay, you know what, let me just start on this pedestal and see where this leads me to? Okay, so
your question brings me back to God again. No, I mean, you cannot deny the God. When God means you like this, when God means you, you can't escape. So I took the decision and I made the prayer. I said, God, I'm going to jump. You've put this thing in me since childhood. Okay. It cannot be for no reason. It cannot just be for my delight and my pleasure. There's something you want me to do with it for the benefit of eternity. Right. So I'm going to jump, and if you are God, catch me. And if I fail, I fail. And I said that prayer and I left it and I went back to work. I was principal of a school at that time. Okay. It did not take 3 weeks. A phone call came through, completely unexpected, from a company called Zuri Media 24, Zuri 24 Media, owned by a gentleman called Femi Odubemi. We have this thing we're planning, a series for Mnet. It's a political thriller. Would you mind, we've seen some of your work in theatre, etc. Would you mind coming in to do an audition? Okay. And you were like, okay, where is that coming from? How? Where? How did you even get my number in the first place? Like, okay. So many questions, but I smiled to myself because I knew who was at work, the Lord God himself. Went for the audition, got there, saw a couple of stars, already established stars. Thought to myself, they won't pick me.
Let me just do this.
But let me just go and do my thing. So took the script, sat down with it for a few minutes, as they usually allow you do, and then I spoke to the camera, read the lines, and I left. Wasn't up to a week later, I got a phone call back. We would like you to do it, to play this role.
Was it the same role you read for?
It was the same role I read for.
Okay.
So a challenge arose immediately because they made it clear that I would need to be available for the number of months full-time.
Right.
On any given day that I'm called on to set. And I had a full-time job as a principal. And if you know anything about running a school, especially a school with about 600 teenagers,
wow,
and over 130 staff to manage, a team of over 130 strong to manage, you will know that it's not beans. So I immediately, I had to confess to them that, look, I'm in a full-time job. And, I remember the expression, I could hear the expression, so to speak, on the gentleman's face. It was almost like, then why did you come for the audition? I said, I've always wanted to do this, and can you give me 2 days a week? Can we work it out? And they were like, madam, we've never done that kind of thing before for anybody. And we left it at that, and I felt so dejected. I thought, nah, they will never accept that. Couple of days later, they called again. Okay,
we will do that.
Let's make it work. We'll do that for you. That was only half of the challenge. I then had to go to the board of the school and say, this has happened. Will you give me 2 days every week? That's a tall order. Thankfully for me, I'd done enough of a job for them to have that confidence, for the chairman to have that confidence to say, you've done a good job. If you can maintain the job you've done, go. So they were my first biggest supporters, the actual owners of the school that I worked in. And God bless them forever for that. So that was how we started. As time went on, the creative director came to have a chat with me as we started shooting. The series was called Covenant. And he said, we're really liking what you're giving us, and we want to expand your role.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't meant to be a lead role. It was a much smaller supporting role. And I said, let's go for it. And Fatima became a phenomenon, so to speak, in Covenant, the series. This was about 2.5 years ago. And so that gave me a fantastic foundation as a kickoff role. It really put me on the screen, as a leader in a field that I had just entered, so to speak.
And so going back to what they said, where have you been? And then it was more or less like, okay, here
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
So that's what I mean when I say when God wants to announce you, he doesn't take prisoners. He does not take prisoners.
So let's go back to, the beauty of storytelling. And of course, you've interpreted roles, from the audition to the script itself and all of that. So what differentiates Fadikemi from the roles that you get to play on, either on stage or on television? How do you take away yourself from those roles and immerse yourself in those roles you're playing? Again, talking about the power of storytelling.
Right. It's an interesting question. There are differences and then there are alignments and similarities. The differences are Fadikemi has lived a full and complete life in real time. She has a family. She has a parent. She has children. She has people that she looks up to and who look up to her. Sure. She has hundreds of students that she has tutored,
Right.
hundreds of adults that she has also mentored, who also look up to her for inspiration. So there's there's a foundation of values that are very full and hard fought over many years. And that's not something that she wants to lose. Okay. So in going into acting, I had the clarity of mind that there is going to be that side of my life, and then there's going to be the real me. And that real me must not be affected. Okay. My children, my siblings, they must not be affected adversely because I have decided that this is what I want to do. Right. Having said that, an actor must find themselves in the character that they play. If not, it will be difficult to portray that character realistically. So even if I'm playing a villain whose actions I don't necessarily agree with, right, I have to come to a place of understanding of why they've become the way that they've become. And I have to be ready to showcase societal issues without judgment, right, you know. And that's a very important process for actors. So that's how I see it. That's how I would answer the question.
I mean, judging from the fact that you came into the industry in your 50s, and of course the younger ones will say, oh, to come into Nollywood, you have to bend some rules, or you have to sleep with directors or producers for roles. And then you came in at a time where it was more or less like God had you back in the industry. So is there you know, how do you look at, you know, those allegations? I don't know if there's any truth in it. And when you came in, did you see it as something that was possible that, you know, younger ladies were dealing with?
Absolutely, they are dealing with this. It's not a rumor. Right. You know, maybe not all of them, but, you know, I've had candid, honest conversations with young women within the industry who have been harassed, who have been sexually harassed by people in power within the industry for the benefit of giving them roles and work within the industry.
Sorry to cut you. Is it because they're not good enough, or is just something that, you know, the people in power just feel, oh, I just need to do this because I feel I can do this?
It's a mixed bag. You know, I can't speak to the heart of a man. Who knows why, you know, someone would decide to collect something by force that they can collect freely and willingly given if under the right circumstances. That's for them to deliberate on. But it's a mixed bag, to answer your question directly. Some people may feel that they're not good enough, and some people are genuinely more than good enough, but would still compromise themselves because they feel that it's something that they are prepared to do. Right. It's a question of values. There's no doubt that it's a highly competitive profession at any age, right, at any age. But more so, I think, when you're younger, because there's a teeming mass of young people who are in the industry and more coming into the industry as opposed to maybe people who are older like myself. So it's a question of values. It's a question of defining your value. And I always tell young women that I mentor, you have to define your value. If you do not define your value, someone else will define your value for you. Absolutely. And it might be that lecherous person who is offering you a role for a night in the sack. And it's up to you and your values and how you define your values to decide what you want to do with it. So it's not something that we haven't seen in real life happening. But there are a lot of people who get propositioned and refuse. Sometimes they may lose a job for that, and they decide, so be it.
So from the roles that you've played so far, which would you consider the most challenging?
Well, let me see. I approach all my roles as though they are the most challenging. Like when I get a role, I never take it for granted. Because once you do that, once you feel I've played a villain before, I've played a rich auntie before, you miss the mark.
Okay.
And you're not able to renew your mind and renew your act. And an actor must keep renewing their act. So each time I get a role, I handle it like this is new and this is the biggest one I'm going to get.
Okay.
It might be a 5-minute short film. It might be something that may never see the light of day.
True.
It might be something that it was this young, fresh filmmaker that has never made a film in their life brought to me, or this really big filmmaker brought to me. Everything becomes extremely important in that material time.
Okay.
So looking at it like that, I'm not sure that I can pinpoint one, but there is one that did give me a little bit of headache. It was a short film called Conversations from the Past, executive produced by a historian called Tunde Leye and a filmmaker. And it's actually available for viewing on the African History Channel, which is a YouTube channel. Yes, but in that one I played the famous kingmaker and slave trader in Nigerian history, Efun Poroye Tinubu. Yes, Efun Roye, popularly known as Efun Roye, but her full name is Efun Poroye. And so most of the script was in Yoruba. My Yoruba is, it is Lagos Yoruba.
It is not the Yoruba.
Not at all, not at all. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I had a language tutor, God bless her. She's a teacher that used to work with me in one of my schools that I owned, a school I owned. And she worked and worked and worked with me to whip me into shape. But I'm so glad that when she then saw it, she said she was proud and I did a really good job. So that one gave me a bit of headache. Oh, Lori dear,
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So, are you also worried that for some reason you could also be a stock character? Perhaps again because of the way you speak, because of your voice, and then directors could think, oh, okay, no, I think she's only good for such a particular role. We don't want to try her in certain roles. Are you worried about that, or you're open and any script you get, let's give this a shot?
I won't say I'm worried about it. I will say I'm aware of it.
Okay.
I think about it. But I make an intentional decision not to worry about it.
Right.
The scriptures that I read say your gift will take you before kings. Your gift will speak for you. And that's enough for me.
Okay.
That's all that matters to me. So any role that comes to me, I look at it as this is the only role I'm ever going to get for the rest of my life.
Okay.
And I attack it with the same vigor. So if you look at my latest show reel, which is on my social media, for example, I think it was last week or just a couple of days ago that I put that show reel there. You will, if you look at the comments and some of the feedback that I got from people, you will see that I hardly play the same person twice. So I can play a rich woman today, a rich woman tomorrow, but this one sounds a bit different. This one has different mannerisms. This one speaks Yoruba. This one speaks Igbo.
Right.
I've even played a Hausa woman before where I had to get a Hausa language tutor to infuse Hausa with English. This one speaks posh. This one doesn't speak so posh. There's so many nuances. When you love what you do, when you're passionate about what you do, you have a responsibility to explore the nuances of your role, and not allow yourself to get stuck.
Right.
Having said that, there is nothing innately wrong if you decide as an actor that I do want to be stereotyped. Right. Because some people have, actors have brands. And there will be actors who want to associate themselves with a particular kind of brand. Okay. If you look at Shafi Bello, for example, someone I've played with a couple of times, a lot of the time she's playing a well-educated, well-exposed, wealthy woman. But she's bringing, some nuance, different nuance to each of her delivery based on the demands of the script and of the role. But that's her brand. Her brand is expensive, classy, sophisticated. So for some people, it works when you decide this is the way I want to go. It does mean that you are shutting the door to other opportunities. But sometimes the opportunities that come with focusing on one line are so vast that, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. So to each his own is what I would say.
So have you had to reject a script or a role before for personal reasons?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Okay. Maybe you want to tell us why they didn't meet up to what your expectations, or you just didn't feel, the script.
It's a mixed bag, really. There are different reasons for which an actor might turn down. You know, I don't want to use the word reject, but turn down a role. One, it may just be poor scheduling. It just doesn't work for, you know, sometimes a filmmaker might come to me to shoot a movie in a week's time, and I'm already fully scheduled for another maybe month or 2 or 3 or things like that. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's a misalignment for remuneration sometimes. You know, I mentioned you have to define your value, and sometimes that includes turning down work that doesn't meet the value to which you deserve, the minimum value to which you represent. Sometimes it's the script. Sometimes the script does not particularly inspire. Sometimes you are auditioned and you don't get the role because there's something they're looking for that they prefer someone else for. So there's so many different reasons for which that can happen. But for the most part, no. For the most part, that I haven't turned down that many, but 1 or 2, yes.
1 or 2, right? Before we allow you to go, you talked about remuneration. Is that a big deal for you in the industry? Is
it a big deal? Let me answer like this.
Because I'm sure a lot of people will say, no. I mean, why are you acting if it cannot pay the bills?
Yes.
So,
if it were the biggest deal, I wouldn't be in the industry. If it were the biggest deal to me, I wouldn't be in the industry. And I say that because when I joined acting, I had a severe drop in income, which, you know, would surprise many people. But I was coming from the corporate world, education mainly, and in some other ways, law as well. And I was earning a good salary. You know, I had an official driver. I had a comfortable life. And I left all of that. And I left the safety of a steady, good salary for uncertainty, for freelancing, as it were. And that hasn't always been easy. So that can't be the most important thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But it's important enough because Abimbola, we have to eat. We have to take care of our families. So that's where defining your value as an actor comes in. And that's where also the value of diversification, you know, comes in. I still consult, I train. I still train in the education world, even in the corporate world. I'm still training individuals in soft skills, elocution, things like that. I'm still involved or in some way or the other in a few other things. Hosting of events, moderating panels, etc. So it's a mixed bag of work, but it's all about, they all have a common link, which is storytelling.
Storytelling, right. Okay, we need to let you go, but finally, before we say goodbye to you on the program today, how long have you been wearing your dreads?
So it would be 9 years at the end of this month. We're in September.
We're in September.
At the end of this month, it would be 9 years. And again, that's a story.
It's another story.
my dreads are, I call my dreads my tribal mark. I'm a very proud African woman. And I really wish that Nollywood would promote more of our natural hair in our stories. If you look at the South African film industry, there's much more of that. Who better to define our identity as a people than Nollywood? Who better? in the entirety of Africa to show our pride in our women and their beauty and the dignity than Nollywood. So I hope that happens. I hope that happens.
All right, thank you so much, Fadikemi Olumide, actor, lawyer, educator, for finding time to be with us on the program today. We appreciate your thoughts here. Thank you so much for coming. All right, I'm sure you've enjoyed this conversation today. I sure have. And definitely, if you'd like to connect with her, of course, she's on Instagram and she's on all other social media platforms. And this interview will also be posted later on our YouTube page. You can go there and watch it much later on the program. Thank you so much for watching this side of the table today. We'll take a quick break. When the conversation returns, Joy will be here with her Lagos conversation.